Went to sleep, I woke up and I told my wife, take me to my mom's place. If I'm gonna die, I wanna die at home with my mum, you know what I mean? When the colon cancer ruptured, man, I'd never experienced pain like that in my life. The first thing that I said to the doctor was, how do I turn 6 months into 60 years? And he looked at me and he said, why do you say that? And I said, because I got a son that's nearly 3 years old, man. I gotta walk into school in 2 years' time. There was times where I could have checked out, said I can't do it anymore. It was him who kept me alive. I truly feel like life has been kind to Billy Dib. I can truly say that God gave me everything that I asked for, man. I truly believe that God only gives you what you can handle, man. And there was many times where I actually got my phone out where I thought I was done. And I did all these videos. I did multiple videos, man, of like, you know, turning 5, turning 10, turning 21, turning 18.
In case you weren't going to be there.
Growing up in Engadine, we stood out like a sore thumb. We got into fights, we got bashed, we got spat, we got kicked on. When you don't fit in, people fear you. People fear what's different. When you're at home and you're living in a household with your parents who are a little bit racist, parents are a little bit derogatory, you start bringing that to school. I got to the point where I could stick up for myself, and not just myself, I could stick up for my siblings too. I handed out a few ass whippings, I'm not gonna joke. I'm serious, I did, you know what I mean? Because that's just what I had to do. Boxing changed my life. Boxing changed the outcome of my life, because if it hadn't been for boxing, who knows what I would have been today. But it took me from the back of the class to the front of the class. It took me from underachieving to overachieving. Time is the most valuable commodity that we have, and people misuse their time. People waste their time on shit that they don't need to waste their time on. Do you understand that you will never get that back?
All right, guys, wow. I don't say this often, but this was a truly special episode. We had Billy Dib on the podcast, two-time world champion in boxing, has just defeated cancer in the last couple of years. The perspectives and clarity this man has about life, about growth, about gratitude, about purpose, about achieving greatness. An hour and a half, genuinely, it felt like it went in an instant. It felt like 5 minutes. Such a good chat. Honestly, we ended up talking to him for another hour off air. It's such a beautiful human being. You're going to love this podcast. It's not as businessy as our usual ones, but trust me, get through this podcast, listen to the messages inside it, and it has the power to change your life. One thing as well, if you want to learn more about Billy's story, trust me, I'm kind of mind blown about what this guy's went through and the whole story of his life. So go to his website, Believe, so Billy with VE.com, so believe.com. He's got his book there. He's got a bunch of merch. He's got a really cool brand behind him as well. So definitely go check that out. But before we get into the podcast, if you're watching on YouTube, could ask that you please like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Takes you 2 seconds and it really helps me out. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, if you could leave us a 5-star review, again, I'd be eternally grateful. Thank you for the last couple of weeks. I've had heaps of people leaving reviews. We're well over 100 reviews on Spotify now, so greatly appreciate it. Anyway, we'll get into the podcast. As I said, it's a really special one, a really powerful episode. So get through it, listen to it. There's so much value in this, and it genuinely could change your life. Let's get into it. All right, welcome back. Another episode, take 2. We've done the intro once. It didn't come through. So let's go again. Billy Dib is in the house. This is one we've kind of had in the works for a little while. For those of you that don't know Billy, extremely inspirational character. What a journey he's been on. Some tough times. He's really come through the other side. So we're going to talk through that whole journey. But Billy Dib, 2-time boxing world champ, pretty recently came off his biggest battle yet, defeating cancer. He's the author of his own autobiography, A True Heart, which that and a bunch of his own merch and things you can get in and support his journey. It's available at billydib.com. There's a few reasons I want to chat to Billy. Obviously, boxing world champ, he's defeated cancer. There's a few things I feel like in exploring your story and doing the research. There's a few kind of core themes I think this podcast that I want to explore. It's the pursuit of greatness, which is something you've been on since you were a kid. Purpose. I know purpose throughout your life. There's been a big theme for you, overcoming adversity, and then gratitude. I think the experiences that you've been through will change your relationship with gratitude in ways that could be difficult for a lot of people to understand. So Billy Dib, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for being here, brother. It's an honor to have you on.
Yeah, thank you for having me, man. It's a pleasure to be here.
For sure. We were chatting before. You grew up in Engadine, a shy kid growing up. Would have been a pretty interesting time. We're going to get into all the boxing stuff as well and that journey and when that really started to become your life's mission. But talk to me, take me back to that time growing up in Engadine, Lebanese kid, obviously well documented. You know, when we were younger, the Cronulla riots was a bit of a hostile environment and stuff. But would you say you kind of experienced any of that hostility when you were a kid that you had to kind of defend yourself, and is that what led you into boxing, or how would you kind of explain your childhood growing up in Engadine?
Well, I could tell you, man, my childhood was pretty cool.
Yeah,
I had a cool childhood. I had 4 older brothers. I had a younger sister and a younger brother. You know, it was cool to have a a gang of brothers. You know what I mean? A gang of brothers and a sister. We had a lot of fun, man. And obviously, you know, growing up in Engadine, we stood out like a sore thumb. Not gonna sugarcoat it. Yeah, we got into fights. We got bashed. We got spat. We got kicked on. All these things that happened as kids, but that developed us into the people that we are today. We are who we are today because of our experiences, and I believe that wholeheartedly. And so, for me, to be honest, I don't have any you know, malice or, you know, hatred towards anybody who put me through that. I just feel like you were the cause of me reaching my destiny, and I'm thankful for that. And to be honest with you, if it wasn't for what went on at school, I probably would have never found boxing, because it was through going through so much hardship at school that led me to sport, because my dad was like, listen, we need to join you guys in some after-school sports to try to break the barriers and all this stuff. My dad was really wise, and he still is very wise, thankfully. So basically, I started doing some after-school sports, playing football, and, you know, that led to some boxercise at football training, which then led to me going to the boxing gym and walking into my destiny, you know what I mean? So everything had to happen in that order for me to end up in the boxing gym.
It's really interesting as well, and it's really interesting to hear you say, like, you hold no malice against those people. Like, they, exactly right, like, they played a part in you achieving your destiny and going down that path. But one thing, we were chatting briefly off air, you come across as a deep thinker, right? So I want to see if you have kind of boiled it down to what you think it comes from. As I said, I grew up, like, I'm Irish background, but, you know, obviously appear like a normal, like, white Aussie kid. I went to Casula High, as I was saying before, very multicultural, melting pot of, you know, Asians, all Middle Easterns, like, all the different islanders, Fobs, Tongans, Samoans, New Zealanders, Aussie, everything was mixed there. And while it was a bit of a rough school at stages, there was punch-ons and people bringing knives and stuff, there was never anything racially motivated. Never, I don't like you because you're X, Y, Z. They just didn't get along because they're two bad kids, you know what I mean? But what made you stand out so much? Like, have you thought about, you know, kind of what makes people have these prejudices against people? Did you analyze that?
The truth is, man, is like, look, we were the only ethnic family alongside another family called the Stewarts that came from an Arab background, but they were very much, you know, their names, Alan Stewart.
Yeah, you know, sounds Irish or something like that.
It just fit it right in.
Wow.
We didn't. We were Bilal, Muhammad, Nasser, Imad, Jihad, Yusuf, Sabrina. We didn't fit in. And I'll tell you something, man. You know what? When you don't fit in, people fear you. They fear you. People fear what's different. Kids fear what's different. You understand? It's not because they got malice or they want to hurt. It's just they fear what's different. That's the thing about it. You know what I mean? You look different. You don't look like you fit in. And yeah, I'm a little bit scared about connecting with you. And that's really what it is. Yeah. I believe that wholeheartedly. I believe like it's a thing of like fear. And so then when you're at home and you're living in a household with your parents who are a little bit racist, you know, your parents are a little bit derogatory, you start bringing that to school.
Rubs off on
because you don't. No one is born a bully, man. No one is born a bully. No one is born with the thought of wanting to hurt people or make people's lives difficult. No one is born like that. But it's something that you absorb at home. It's something that you inherit at home, and then you bring it to school and you take it out on kids like me. And you know, eventually, I got to the point where I could stick up for myself, and not just myself. I could stick up for my siblings too. You know what I mean? And I handed out a few ass whippings. I'm not gonna joke. I'm serious. Yeah. I did. You know what I mean? Because that's just what I had to do. And I didn't take up boxing to hurt people, but I took up boxing to protect myself.
Yeah.
You know, boxing was a way for me to protect myself. But let me tell you something. Boxing changed my life. Boxing changed the outcome of my life, because if it hadn't been for boxing, who knows what I would have been today. But basically what it done is it took me from the back of the class to the front of the class. It took me from underachieving to overachieving for who I was. You know what I mean? Boxing really pushed me to the point where I wanted to excel in everything that I did.
Did any of the treatment from other kids or the way they looked at you change as you started to stand out as a really elite athlete? Or did that make them fear you?
You know what? Let's just say I turned the naysayers into fans. You know what I mean? I turned the naysayers into fans.
Yeah.
And it was cool because my principal, he would allow me to stick posters around the school about my upcoming fights. and the kids would come watch me fight, and it'd be
That's
like,
cool.
they'd really loved it. You know what I mean? Like I became Engadine's kid. You know what I mean? Like Engadine claims Billy Dib now. You know what I mean? Which is awesome. You know what I mean? It's really really amazing.
So how did your family land in Engadine? Do you what was the story behind that?
Look, my father came to Australia in the 70s. You know, I mean, I was born, 15 years after that. But basically my father, my brothers and they grew up in Hurstville. Yeah. And I was born in Hurstville, and then my father found a mixed business that was for sale in Engadine, and behind that mixed business there was a house. So it just went hand in hand. So my dad bought the mixed business in the house with the intention of locking us into this workforce where he's going to teach us how to be, cater to the people. We're going to know how to have customer service. We're going to know how to be kind to people. We're going to know how to receive from people. That was my dad's plan. And that's exactly what he did. He basically bought this convenience store. We all grew up in this convenience store serving customers and learning how to talk to customers and how to deal with customers. And my dad just had this vision, and the vision worked. He locked us in this place, and basically it was, a long way away from where we had come from. And it's crazy because I remember saying to somebody last week, I'm like, look, man, you can go from Engadine to Sutherland, from Sutherland to Rockdale to Punch Bowl, and you're going to get all these different types of people. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like a whole landscape.
Distinctly,
it's all these it's like segregation nearly, it's like different communities. Then you go from there, you go to like Mount Druitt, and then you got a whole different community there. Then you go to Blacktown, and everywhere you go is like a different culture and community. You know what I mean? It's crazy, but it's fun, man. It's fun. You know what I mean? Like I got no regrets. I truly feel like life has been kind to Billy Dib. I mean, and I can truly say that God gave me everything that I asked for, man. Everything that I asked for and more. When I asked, God gave. And, obviously I never asked to be sick, but God wanted to test me with that too. But can I tell you something? I needed that because that added on to the platform of Billy Dib. It gave me a bigger platform. My platform was here. Cancer gave me this platform that's here. You know what I mean? Like, it took me from because I've had an amazing boxing career. You know what I mean? But a lot of people have amazing boxing careers. I lost my wife due to cancer. You know what I mean? That doesn't happen to a lot of people who then go on to be diagnosed with cancer themselves. So I'm telling you, the story is it's amazing. You know what I mean?
It's an incredible perspective to have, to say God has given me such a great life when you've had to deal with so much adversity.
I truly believe that God only gives you what you can handle, man. And the truth be told, had I have died and not been here today, I can honestly tell you that I was content. I had made a decision when I was in hospital to surrender myself to God, knowing that He would take me on that journey, and there was nothing that I could do, or the doctors could do without His permission.
It's really crazy because if I think back to my own life, I've not had to deal with any adversity even close to that level. But I think on a human level, everyone...
Actually, you have. You have. Because let me tell you something, growing up in you said you grew up tough, you didn't really have much. So really, would you say that you kind of grew up close to poverty? You know what I mean?
We always had food on the table and a roof over our head, but not much more than that.
Yeah, I mean, and that's growing up tough, man.
But it made me, again, so grateful. I wouldn't change that for anything.
Yeah. And look, man, we didn't grow up privileged either, man. You remember, I told you, I got 6 brothers. I got 6 boys and 1 girl. And we got so you could imagine, if I wanted a bike, and my brothers all wanted a bike, my dad would be broke.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And growing up as a kid, you want a BMX.
Yeah,
I wanted a BMX, but my dad had his way of working things around. He was really clever with the way he thought about things, and he would be like, "Listen, you're gonna work for that bike, and what I'm gonna do is I'm not gonna buy it for you, but what you're gonna do is you're gonna save up $300. Once you've saved up that $300, I'm going to put the other $300 on top and get you the BMX that you want." Now, I didn't want a cheap bike. I wanted a red line. You know what I mean? I wanted Tufts on it. I wanted pegs. I want the...
Double your mates on the back, on the front as well.
I wanted the gyro. I wanted the whole 9 yards. You know what I mean? I wanted the whole 9 yards in that bike. But through attaining that bike, through doing it like that, guess what my dad did?
Taught you the value of hard work, right?
Exactly. And I knew that I had to work for it. So guess what? I looked after that bike, and that bike lasted like 20 years.
Yeah.
20 years, man.
At the young age when you were a kid, did you have the foresight or the maturity to realize your dad was teaching you an important lesson? Or did you just go ahead like
listen, we just did as we were told. In our household, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate, like my dad was the king.
Yep.
What he said went.
You're not going to back chat to him.
No, now my son, he's so funny. He's only 4 years of age, but he says to me, "You're a shit dad." You know what I mean? And with that, we would have just had the best day, played, did all these things. That he said, "You know what, Dad? You're a shit dad." He doesn't even know what that means, but he just because I laugh. Yeah, you know what I mean, I said, "What are you talking about? I've just spent the whole day playing with you and running around, and now you call me a shit dad." I said to my dad the other day, I said, "Dad, what would you do if I called you a shit dad when I was a kid?" Yeah, mate, I would have let you have it. You know what I mean?
Times have changed, eh?
No doubt, man. But you know what? Like, my dad was just in control, man. I remember, like, my dad, he was so in control, man. And I wouldn't have it any other way, to be honest with you, because he kept us in check.
I'm worried about the next generation in a way, because like I feel like our generation, I'm 30, probably not too much younger than you. Our parents were still old school parents, so we kind of grew up with you're home by this time, you're in bed by this time, you eat what you're given, or you don't eat at all. The kids nowadays have so much freedom, and they back chat and they push back against so many things. And I think you need to be strict on kids to a certain level to build in discipline, to build in, values and integrity. So it's just a really interesting thing to see. Shit, man, look at how the kids are coming up these days, and like, how are they going to be when they get into the real life world and they're out of school and they've got to fend for themselves or pay their rent or try to get a mortgage? It's scary to think about the way the world's going in that sense.
And in you saying that, that's the reason why I fought so hard to survive, because there was times where I could have checked out and said I can't do it anymore. Take me to palliative care because I can't do it anymore, you know what I mean? But it was him. He kept me alive. I was like, I can't let this kid fend for himself just yet. He needs me, and I need to be there for him.
How old was Laith when you got diagnosed? Was he like really little, right? Or?
Yeah, I was diagnosed on October the 12th, and he would turn 3 in November. So, you know what I mean? Yeah. So he was two going on 3.
Yeah.
And the first thing that I said to the doctor was, how do I turn 3 months? How do I turn 6 months into 60 years? And he looked at me and he said, why do you say that? And I said, because I got a son that's nearly 3 years old, man. I got to walk him to school in 2 years' time. And he's like, and you've just found a real good reason to fight. And he goes, but I'm telling you now, it's like, it's not good. He goes, but you have a reason to fight. And that was my reason, man. Any time that I was down and out, and I would just think, I can't leave him, man. I can't leave him. What's life going to be like without me for him, And so I wrote on the wall of the hospital. My brother actually wrote on it. He said, get up, you son of a bitch, because Leif loves you.
Wow.
And anytime I was down and out, I'd look up at that and I'd be like, I can't let my son down. And there was many times where I actually got my phone out where I thought I was done. I was checking out, and I'd put the phone in front of me. I was like, Dad, I've done everything in my power to try to be there for you, man. Like, you have no idea the pain that I'm in right now. I said, but I don't want to talk to you about that right now. I just want to discuss with you how life's going. And I did all these videos. I did multiple videos, man, of like, turning 5, turning 10, turning 21, turning 18.
In case you weren't going to be there.
Yeah, I did all these things, and then I put them in the archive of my phone, and I would tell my wife, I said, listen, if I don't make it, this is what I've left behind for Laith, and don't give them to him right away. Drip feed him. Drip feed him to him, you know what I mean? I go, and as he gets older, and I gave him so much instruction about what I wanted, because I didn't want him to feel like he had to be anything like me, you know what I mean? Because sometimes kids want to they want to follow in daddy's footsteps.
Yeah.
And he's boxing mad. He loves boxing, man. It's a drug. But I don't want him to feel like he has to do that for me. He's got to do what he wants to do for himself. You know what I mean? Where a lot of parents want to live through their children. I've lived that life. I don't need to relive it again. If he wants to do it, then I'm all for it. But if he doesn't, then he doesn't have to feel like he has to do it for me, because I've already been there, done that.
I think like to boil that back down to like anything in life, if you have a strong enough purpose, you'll see it through.
100%.
One thing I did want to ask you about that, because I imagine it would have been quite scary to think about, but again, I'm not inside your head. You get diagnosed, and like you said before, you'd lost your wife to cancer pretty quickly. Did that play on your mind, seeing how quick she deteriorated and you lost her?
Absolutely. Let me tell you, I remember the first day when the doctors came to the room and they brought the chemotherapy with them, like in these bags, and then they got to sign them off and all that. And I remember just sitting on my bed, man, and I was shaking, like to my boots, like shaking.
Like world champion boxer as well. To like put in perspective. You don't
like,
fear things much.
Like I'm like shaking to my boots, and the only reason why I was shaking so much was because I was like, if Sarah was screaming when they were putting the chemo in, so in her first administration of the chemo, she was screaming, and then something happened to her skin. It turned red, and she ended up with all these like, she had like a reaction to the chemo, and I'm thinking, man, this is gonna be me, and so I said to the doctor, I said, I just need you to hold on for 5 minutes. He said, what is it? And I said, I can't do it right now. I need to go to the shower. And he goes, for what? And I'm like, I need to have a cold shower, because this is what I used to do to calm my nerves when I used to box. I used to have a cold shower. I used to snap out of it. And he goes, I don't think that's going to work, you know what I mean? Anyway, so I did the shower anyway, and I came back and I was still super anxious, and I was just trying to, you know, I want to pray to God, but I couldn't even pray because I was like, my teeth were shattering, you know what I mean? And then once they administered the chemo through the cannula, and like I felt it going through my body, I just took a deep breath and I just stopped. I just surrendered. I said, if I die, I'm going to die. I'm going to die in peace, you know what I mean? Like I said, I received a text message from somebody who's very, very dear to me. I messaged him saying, they've told me that I'll be dead in 6 months. And his message was, you need to surrender. And when he said you need to surrender, I read that as you need to give up. But once I sobered up and read back the message, it was, you need to surrender yourself to a higher power. You're not in control here. God is the one who is in control. Let him take you on that journey and ride the wave. And once I did that, man, I was at ease. Like I told you, I could die, I could survive, I could check out. It didn't matter. God had given me something that he hadn't given a lot of people, and that was time to put everything in perspective and put everything in place. I was able to write up a will. Sometimes you die in a car accident, you didn't get a chance to write a will. Yeah. You died suddenly. You were at the beach, you drowned. You know, something happened, something fell over and hit you, something fell and hit you in the head, or, you know what I mean, you die instantly. Where God gave me time, I was in a room, I was able to rectify all of my life issues. Anybody that I had ever had a fallout with, I sorted it out. I asked for forgiveness, I gave forgiveness, and I was able to put a will in place for my family.
In a way, it was a beautiful gift you were given.
I was given the gift of time, even though I wasn't promised time, because none of us are promised time. Time is the most valuable commodity that we have, and people misuse their time. Like, people waste their time on shit that they don't need to waste their time on, you know what I mean? And do you understand that you will never get that back? Like the time that you and I are sharing right now, if that's going to be of any purpose, it's good. But if there's no purpose in what we're doing, I should just get up and walk out right now. But I feel that people will benefit through you and I sitting together. I'm giving a message that's going to benefit people. You know what I mean? It's going to benefit your life. Time is the most valuable commodity. Don't waste it on people that don't deserve it.
Did that battle you went through and having, you know, essentially your life dangled above you, flashing before your eyes, did that change the way you see time now?
100%. The thing is, now I only give my time to the people who I value most. If I don't value you, I don't give you any of my time. I just don't let people waste my time anymore. I don't let people waste my time anymore at all. If I don't feel like I'm going to benefit or benefit people from it, then I don't do it. And my thing right now about my whole life is I'm trying to do my part to just help as many people as I can. I'm trying to benefit as many people as I can.
So what do you define as your purpose now? Because you've lived Billy Dib as the boxer, gone to the highest highs, like from an Aussie perspective, that anyone has really been able to achieve. Then you get this, and it's all about survival. It's all about your son. Now that you've come out the back of that, healthy, and you've got this new perspective, what is that for you? What is the new mission you're on? You kind of just alluded to it, but if you could elaborate.
My goal right now in life, and when I set a goal, I'm the type of person that whatever I set out to get, I've already got. It's only a matter of time until I get it. I'm that type of a person. I wanted to be world champion. I used to tell myself, it's only a matter of time. You're going to get it. They can't deny you. And my next goal in life is to become one of the best keynote speakers in the world. That means traveling the world, inspiring people to find their greatness. Because each and every single one of us has greatness within us. But it's only whether you're willing to tap into that greatness and find it. Nobody's going to give you nothing. And I want the world to know that. I want to travel the world letting people know that nobody will give you nothing. And if you want something, you got to take it. You got to earn it. You got to deserve it. You know what I mean? Vision, consistency, success, knowledge is power, and power is success, man.
I want to ask you about one thing you just mentioned, because it's something that I can relate to my own life. And I'm not 100% sure where it comes from, if it's DNA, if it's the way I was raised and, surrounded by love from my parents and my grandparents. But you just mentioned, and I think vision is a big part of it. But you just mentioned when you have this vision of what you're going to achieve, you're going to achieve that. It's like when you think about it, the way I talk about when I visualize moments in my life, I feel like I'm time traveling. Like I've been there, I've experienced it, I know it's going to happen. That level of belief isn't, not anyone can attain that. Where do you think you've got this connection, this knowing, this understanding that what I see in my head and what I know will happen in the future, it's guaranteed? Yeah,
for me, it comes through faith, man. It's my faith in God. It's my faith knowing that I surrender myself to the higher power. I know that nothing that I do is from me and only from God. You know what I mean? God puts the strength in me to win fights. God puts in strength in me to overcome cancer. God puts the strength in me to be a good husband, a good father. That's from God. You know what I mean? Everything that I am today is only by God's permission. I'm only here today by God's permission. I'm only in this room with you right now because God told me to be here today. You know what I mean? Like you extended the invitation. I thought about it. I said, yes, I'll come. I'm here. I drove here safely. God allowed me to arrive safely. Everything that I do, I return back to God. God is the greatest in my life, in our lives, and God gives me what I have, and I'm grateful, man.
It sounds like a very freeing experience, and that clarity you got from that moment where you got that text message from a loved one that said, like, surrender. When you said you had to take a bit of time, you came back, you reflected on that. It didn't mean surrender as give up. It mean surrender, let go, let God, essentially, right?
Exactly.
That moment of surrendering and giving up control, was that a moment you got that clarity in a second, or was it something that you developed over a couple of weeks of thinking about it?
It was right away. It was like right in an instant. I was like, he's right. I'm not in control. And then I put my hands up. I was in the hospital room, and I remember I put my hands up and I said, God, I'm not in control, and you're in control. And I don't know what you have written for me, but I only ask of you one thing. If I die, take me to heaven. If I don't, if I die, take me to heaven and look after my wife and my son. That's all I ask. That's all I want. Nothing more.
Billy Dib, the boxer, before any of this health scares happened, were you more of a control freak? Because a lot of high performers, they like to be in control of everything.
I wanted the world and everything in it. I wanted the world and everything in it. You know what I mean? When you see that movie Scarface and he says, Chico, I want the world and everything. that was me. Yeah. I wanted the world and everything in it. And, I didn't get anywhere near what I wanted. Like, I wanted multiple things. But God gave me what I asked for. He gave me what I needed. Yep. He didn't give me more than what I needed. And God only gives you what you really need. You don't get any more than that. And the truth is, man, there's something in Arabic, we call it barakah. You know what I mean? Barakah is like the blessings of your life. And when you think about it, sometimes you don't have barakah in your wealth. You know what I mean? There's no blessings in your wealth. Your wealth it diminishes. You get it from here and it goes from there. But health is barakah. health is wealth. You know what I mean? Having your children being healthy is barakah. Having a beautiful, pious wife, that's barakah. You know what I mean? A beautiful mom and a dad, that's barakah. There's barakah in so much in our lives, yet we're so consumed about trying to get more and more and more and more. You know what I mean?
Speaking about the relationship to time and being grateful for like not to waste any moment of your life for things that don't matter. I feel like, particularly in the business world, a lot of my friends and people I see, we can be so busy and so stressed out that we're almost wishing time away, like wishing for when we can relax. But the power of like the magic is in every moment. If you can be where your feet are and just like let go and accept the journey for what it is, like there's going to be highs, there's going to be lows. But I feel like so many of us, myself in particular, we want to have control over every element of the journey, but it's just not realistic. And I think committing to that, like longing for control, while it does benefit you in sometimes because you're able to achieve things, it hurts you in that you can't, it's more difficult to be grateful and to be present in the moment for what it is and not judging it for, it's not exactly what I wanted. And like, you know, I have these calls with people starting businesses all the time. Maybe someone's doing a couple $100,000 a year and they think they're a failure because their friend's doing a couple million a year. But then I speak to another person who would do anything. They would kill for a couple $100,000 a year in the business. It's like, it's really difficult to get that moment of clarity to just be okay with what you are and where you're at.
The truth is that we're born with this thing of wanting more and more and more. There's no contentment. You know what I mean? We're like, you get $1 million, you want another $1 million. You get 2 million, you want 4 million. You get 4 million, you want 8 million. You know what I mean? It's like, and you stop. Like for me, right? I'm not in that realm of that kind of money. I'm not like I've had a great career and I've done well for myself, but I'm not in that realm of the tens of the millions. I'm not. You know what I mean? And it's like, when are you gonna be content, man? Like, cause look, my wife has an amazing car. I drive a Ford Ranger, which I love.
Big boy, it's a nice one.
I mean, I love the Ford Ranger. You know what I mean? My wife has a lovely car. My kid has everything that he needs, clothing-wise. He has severe allergies, which costs a lot of money to look after, but I have the means to look after that. And to be honest with you, you know, people think that I live in a mansion and stuff. We don't. We actually live in a townhouse. We live happily in a townhouse because that's exactly where we want to be. Like, we're right next to my wife's parents. We're next to my parents, you know what I mean? We're happy where we are. It's just contentment, you know what I mean? It's contentment. And so many people nowadays, especially because of social media, want more because they want to be able to show that they've got more. Yeah. And that's a really sad thing, man. For me, I'll be honest with you, I'm very content with what I have. We'd always like to better ourselves, but not at the detriment of trying to get away from what's important to me, and that's my faith and my connection with God, man.
That acceptance of and being content with where you are doesn't mean you can still strive to achieve your goals. And I think I've interviewed a lot of really successful people, and some of them I say the word content and they fear it. They think it's the enemy, right? But I think content is what I'm striving for. It's the most beautiful thing, because if you're content with like, exactly, like I've a townhouse in the city, it's like, it's great for us right now, but like, if you can be content there, or if you can't be content in that and you feel like you need the big mansion on the water to be content, it's like, what's the point? You're living for other people's expectations, that comparison.
Look, man, you said it yourself earlier when I first connected with you, that, you know, you're a kid that grew up in like, you know, in like
Liverpool area. Yeah.
It was all right. You were getting by.
Yeah.
But then God gave you success, and God gave you wealth, and now you could pretty much have whatever you want, right? But you don't, because you don't need it. But you could probably get in your car right now, drive across the road and go buy a Ferrari or a Lamborghini if you wanted, but you don't need it.
Yeah.
You're content.
People ask me that all the time on podcasts and stuff when I'm the guest. Like, okay, when you're this kid from out in the area, when you made your money, you know, what was the silly purchases you made? And like, I just didn't. I had a very small phase where like I bought like an Audi, which is like for how much money we made. Not like you see the kids buying Lambos and stuff. But like I might have bought some like Gucci stuff or some Louis Vuitton, like shoes and clothes. And like, I did that for about a month. And then I looked myself in the mirror. I'm like, this isn't even the stuff I like. Like, why am I doing, it's not even me.
It's not me.
Why am I doing this, man? And I think like a lot of people say, like, money hasn't changed you at all. And I'm really proud of that. Like, I'll go have conversations with people. I remember I was doing the first business event I spoke at. As I said, like, I'm a like a white Aussie kid, right? I'm not Aussie, but you know, I appear Aussie to people. And I do these, I do these do these business events. Remember the first one I did, I was recounting the story of our launch and our success. And it was a morning breakfast event with like, I'd say the average age was like 40, early 40s, like much older than me. And I was talking about the experience we had. And I said to this group of business people, like much older than me, I said, oh my God, bro, this is hectic. And I remember saying the word hectic in front of like all these people. I'm like, dude, they don't talk like that. So embarrassing. And then they all laughed, but not in like a disrespectful way. They're like, oh, that's him. That's authentic. And that's when I realized the power of being authentic is like, it's like there's only one you, and that's your superpower.
Oh, man.
If you can own that, then that's what attracts people.
That's the most important thing, man. The most important thing is just be you.
Yeah.
And if you're you, like the greatness is within you. Not within anything else, man. Like, listen, your success comes because you strived for that. You know what I mean? It didn't come easy. You had to work for it. You know what I mean?
Hard.
You said you saved up 10 grand. That would have took you some time to do it.
Almost a year.
Yeah.
Almost a year.
Once you got that 10 grand, you blew 9 grand of it on a gamble, right?
Yeah.
But you had trust and faith in what you were doing, and it came through, man. Like, listen, and you deserve it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sitting here, I'm telling you directly. From the story you've told me, man, I can just tell you, you know what, you deserve it.
Thank you, brother.
You deserve it. You look like you're a deserving person. You look like you're a giving person. So, you know, you deserve that.
I feel like people that have not come from a lot, when they do achieve success or an element of wealth, I think they are more giving a lot of the time, because you realize what life was like and the struggle that a lot of people go through around you.
I tell you, man, it's funny because I got someone who I consider a really good friend. His name's Jake, and he actually owns the brand G'd Up.
Oh yeah, he's talk about successful. He's around the corner.
Yeah, and he's a good friend of mine. And Jake, he strived for years, man. And let me tell you something. He is the most giving, generous man you've ever met in your life. And that guy gives out in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, no joke, to young kids who are chasing their dreams. And my brother's one of them. My younger brother Yusuf is one of them, and Jake supports him
and stuff
with like enormous amounts of money because he wants him to achieve his dreams. And my brother got beat last week, and he says to my brother, it doesn't matter, I'm still on board, man. I'm there for the journey, you know what I mean? Like, that's amazing. When you're in a position to start changing people's lives with your wealth, that's special, man. That's special. When you can give somebody something and say, listen, I'm going to change your life, that's big.
It's a gift.
Man, that is big. And let me tell you something. The truth of the matter is that when God gives you your wealth, he's testing you with it. Are you going to be a cheapskate and a tight ass and never give anybody and never give any charity and never help people that are in need? Or are you going to give? Because I reckon the difference between having that wealth forever or having that wealth for a little bit of time and then losing it is that if you're a cheapskate and you're not, you know, you're not stepping up and helping people that are in need, people that are struggling, God will take it off you and give it to somebody else that will.
And you know the saying as well, money doesn't change who you are, it amplifies it. It shows people your true colors.
Yeah.
Interesting. A lot of people get their money and, you know, at the time when we came up, it was 2018 when we launched. Like 2018, 2019 was like, you know, your life is changing before your eyes. And you meet people who are at the similar stage. And I look at some people like in different e-com circles and I see the way money's changed them and it makes me sick. Like I can't surround myself with people that like, they were asking you all these questions and they were like, not sucking up to you, but very, very friendly. Then they go and, you know, achieve their own success. And then they look down on people that don't have money and don't drive a Ferrari or a Lambo. I'm just like, you know, type of person that I want to surround myself with anyway, you know? But I want to take it back to your health journey. You mentioned, obviously, your relationship to time changed massively. I had earlier this year, it's nothing compared to like what you went through, but I had like a hiatus hernia where the top of my stomach was popping up through my esophagus. So it was like a month where I was in like pretty bad pain, couldn't really work. And I remember my level of gratitude and appreciation for health completely changed after that. What was yours like? Because obviously you were a performance athlete. but I imagine most of the training you're doing is fitness or like skills, like you're training for a purpose to be an elite athlete.
Yeah.
How has your, like, the value you put on health and well-being changed?
Truth be told, the doctor said to me, one of the major reasons why you're still here today is because you were so fit when you came to the hospital. So I still take my training very, very seriously.
Yeah, okay.
And I work extremely hard. I'm actually doing an exhibition, a boxing exhibition on August 3rd in Mullan at the entertainment center to raise funds for a charity called
That's
Tiny
awesome.
Tins. You know what I mean? So
What does that charity support?
it supports disadvantaged families and kids who are going through the struggle, man. So
It's beautiful, man.
I'm all about trying to help where I can, and this is an opportunity to help and an opportunity to showcase that, even though I was told that I wouldn't be around, I'm getting back in the ring, man, and I'm gonna be sharing the boxing ring to to wow some people. You know what I mean? Like for me, it's like a redemption story in a way. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I get to give back and help people.
How did it feel the first time you got back in the ring and laced up your gloves?
After being sick. So when I actually got back in the gym and, because I was very weak, I would do like 2 minutes on the pads or 20 seconds on the pads
Yeah.
and I'd be done.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I had nothing left. But
Understandably.
I remember the first time that I actually got in the ring to spar, I was sort of feeling myself, and then one of the kids in the gym hit me with a body shot and like took the wind right out of me. But it was like, wow, where I was and where I am today. You know what I mean? But to be honest with you,
Humbling experience a little bit?
no, it was just like, like, sort of, how can I tell you? Like you sort of sit back and you think, like I sat down on the floor and I pondered like, wow, where was I and where I am today? Like the fact that I'm alive is just an amazing thing. Anyway, like, but my fitness and my I had no muscle mass. I was done. You know what I mean? I was
Boxing's having a bit of a resurgence in Australia at the moment.
massive.
Do you see yourself, obviously, like you've gone through it like to the elite level as a boxer, do you see yourself getting involved any more than like fun exhibitions in the future to like, all the no limit stuff? Like someone like you, I imagine that'd love to put you on a card. Do you ever
I'd be
see
honest
yourself
with you,
getting back into it in a semi-serious capacity?
I have the intentions of having one more as a farewell. That's it.
Yeah.
And it's about showing people that no matter what you go through in your life, no matter what any doctor tells you, no matter the circumstance, if you have that self-belief and you have a vision and you're consistent in your approach, you'll find that success, man. And for me, it's like I want to go out on my own terms. I developed a brand called Believe, BILLYVE, Believe. And the slogan of that logo and that brand is vision, consistency, success. I live and die by that, man. And I believe that if I want to do something, if I put my mind to it, anything is possible. So, yeah, man, after this exhibition, with God's permission, if things go well in the exhibition and I feel good, then I'll look at having one more as a farewell.
Exciting times.
But on a big platform.
Yeah. Oh, I'll be watching. You mentioned going back into the gym the first time, you were sparring, you copped a body shot, you realize, oh, crap, it's not where I used to be.
Yeah.
But it was actually a body shot that you took when you were sparring that potentially saved your life, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Talk us through that moment.
I mean, look, when they say boxing saves lives, it literally saved my life. You know what I mean? It really did, because had I not got hit in the stomach in that spot, it wouldn't have ruptured the cancer. But when he hit me in the colon area, he ruptured my cancer, and basically that's what made me sick.
Were you feeling any symptoms before that?
Never. I was tired. I'd be tired here and there, but never felt like anything other than just a bit of fatigue and stuff. But when that ruptured the colon, when the colon cancer ruptured, man, that was painful. I'd never experienced pain like that in my life.
Did you go straight from the gym to the hospital or back? Try to fight it off back home first?
I actually went from the gym to a cafeteria called I went to a cafe, and I sat at the cafe and watched my cut man eat some food, and I got an acai bowl, and I was like, I tried to eat a little bit of it. My stomach was killing me, and I had like a couple of spoons, and I left it. And we're at Cafe Rome, and I remember, man, and I was like, I I got to go. And I went home and I felt like I was going to have a baby. Seriously. I was in so much pain, man. And I sat in a restroom for like an hour with no luck. I just couldn't, because my all my lymphs were blocked up. So I couldn't like defecate or anything like that, you know.
Because I'd imagine you'd taken hundreds of body shots in the past, and
that was not a good. No, it was nothing special. It was just a tap on the colon, but it was a good hit on the colon area. And so when I tried to sleep it off. I started taking endone. I took a couple of tablets to try to get the pain to subside. And
do much.
The next day, man, I was on my knees begging for mercy. Yeah, I went to the hospital and then. Yeah, man.
Because what happened that night when you got home was your wife saying?
No, I told my wife. So that day I actually went to the hospital during the day, and then I came home, and then my wife was taking my son swimming lessons, and I told her, look, I'm gonna need to go to the hospital, and I'm gonna call an ambulance to come get me, and I don't want you to drop me off because I know if she drops me off, then I'm going to be in a waiting room for ages. So I said, I'm going to get the ambulance to take me and I'm going to let them know how serious this is. You know what I mean? When I got there, they didn't take it too serious.
They didn't, I know.
They thought it was a joke. They thought I was like, they're like, oh, there's nothing wrong with you. It's just, you know. And I was like, listen, I'm going to die. And they're like, no, it doesn't look like that way. You know, and I actually had a bit of an episode where I picked up one of the monitors and smashed it on the floor, and I told the nurse, I said, listen, if you value your life, you'll help me, because if you don't, I'll kill you right now. And by the time I said to her, by the time the police get here, you'll be dead.
Yeah. And
she was like, okay, I'm going to help you right now. And I was like, I suggest you do. And then all she did was just smash me with the morphine. And I was knocked out. And I woke up like hours later feeling okay. And they were like, you can go home if you want. And I rang my brother Nasser, and I was like, actually I rang my brother Yusuf, and I was like, hey bro, can you pick me up from the hospital? And he's like, which hospital are you at? And I'm like, I'm at Bankstown Hospital. And he's like, you sure? And I'm like, yeah. And so he goes there and he goes, I'm outside. I said, okay, but I'm outside, but you're not here. And he goes, where are you, bro? And I'm like, I'm at Canterbury Hospital. And he's like, you told me Bankstown. And I was like, my bad, man. I'm just jumping in an Uber. I need to go home, bro. So I called an Uber home. And my wife was like, let's go visit mum. And we went to my mum and dad's place. And when I was there, my mum gave me a sandwich. And after she gave me the sandwich, the pain came back with a vengeance, man.
As soon as you put anything into your stomach.
100%. Then I went home, took some endone, fell asleep, woke up at 5 a.m, feeling like the most horrendous pain. And then I took another endone for the pain to wear off. And then I went to sleep. I woke up and I told my wife, take me to my mum's place. I'm going to die. If I'm going to die, I want to die at home with my mum, you know what I mean? So she took me to my mum's place, and then my mum said, you've probably caught wind. And I said, what, mum? She goes, you've caught wind. So I slammed the door, and when I slammed the door slammed and then reopened and slammed my leg. Oh. And I was on the floor begging for mercy from pain from my knee and now my stomach. And then my brother Muhammad rang me and he's like, listen, man, what's going on? Why were you in hospital yesterday? And I was like, forget that, bro. If you don't help me now, I'll be dead by tonight. He's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, Mo, I'm going to die. Please, do you know anyone you could ring? And he said, yeah, I'll ring you back in a second. So he rang a friend of his who's a cancer doctor. His name's Dr. Pran. And Dr. Pran gets on the phone. First thing I said to him is, Dr. Pran, don't hang up. Because you have to believe me. He goes, champ, I will not hang up on you. I promise. Tell me what the situation is. I said, 1, 2, 3. And he goes, get in the car and go straight to Norwest Private Hospital. I go, can I call the ambulance? And he goes, they will not take you there. You're going to need to take the pain and you're going to need to drive there. My brother drove me there. And then that was it, man. I got there and fucking all hell broke loose, man.
I can't imagine how frustrating it would be. Frustrating, to put it lightly, particularly with you as well, having that knowing, like you're a professional boxer.
Yeah,
you know. Like
listen, I know pain, and I wasn't. I can tolerate pain, but that wasn't pain, man. That was something like that was out of this world. And the craziest thing is that when I got to the hospital, because Dr. Pran had told him that you tell them you're Dr. Pran's patient, but I was in so much pain that when I got there, I said to the lady, "Hi there, I'm Billy the Kid," and she goes, "Nice to meet you, Billy the Kid. Can you fill out this form?" And I was like, "No. like, I'm Billy Dib. And she goes, I understand, but you're going to need to fill out this form. By the time I filled out the form and crawled back to the counter to give it back to her, I was like, can you watch my bag? And she was like, are you okay? And I was like, no, I'm going to be sick. 'Cause I ran outside and then I woke up on the floor with a whole bunch of people on top of me. And I said to this guy, I said, am I dead? And he's like, no, mate, you're alive. Wait your turn. And I was like, wait my turn. I'm like, I'm going to die. And then next thing you know, all these nurses ran out and doctors, and they rushed me in and they worked out who I was. And yeah, man, I woke up hours later and some doctor goes to me, what's going on? I said, there's something growing in my stomach. And he goes, what is it? And I said, I don't know. I said, but I think I got cancer. And he's like, I don't think so, but we'll check. You know, the next day they did a colonoscopy and endoscopy and woke me up and said, mate, we found cancer in your colon.
Was it a very alienating couple of days there where just it seemed that no one really understood the gravity of what was going on apart from you?
When I got to that hospital, Norwest Private Hospital, I got to give him credit, man. Dr. Pran really came through. Dr. Sanjay, Dr. Abhi Bhattacharyan, every one of them, man, they did not drop the ball once. They took it up, man. They ran that ball up and they really slam dunked it. I remember when they were doing a scan, trying to find where the cancer was. I was like, they were looking here, and I was like, no, can I show you where it is? And they're like, okay. And I took the thing and I put it where it was, where the pain was. And then the lady was like, oh my God. Okay, I now see what you're talking about. She's like, you've got a really large thing growing in your stomach. And I was like, thank you, God. You believe me?
Finally.
You know what I mean? And so she rang one of the doctors, and she told him what it was. He was like preparing for a colonoscopy and endoscopy right now. So they got me to flush out my system, and then they took me in at night, and they woke me up, and they said, look, we've got good news and bad news. I said, what's the bad news? They said, the bad news is you've got cancer in your colon area. I said, what's the good news? They said, the good news is that we don't operate on a Sunday, but because you're a call in from a friend, we're going to operate on you. So we're going to operate tomorrow. And I was like, thank you, God. You know what I mean? And then they rang my wife, and they were like, and I rang them. I was on drugs, you know, because I was knocked out. And so I'm waking up from the drugs, and she's like, oh, how you feeling? I'm like, I got to tell you something. She, what is it? I said, I got cancer. And she's like, what? And she just burst into tears on the phone, and she dropped the phone, and then the other doctor got on the phone. He's like, listen, I need you to pull it together because I need you to call his brother. You need to call his brother Jihad, because my oldest brother Jihad, he's like the one in charge of the family. And at the time, my dad had cancer himself, so we didn't want to tell him, you know what I mean?
Wow.
And so they rang Jihad and they said, look, here's the situation. We're going to need to take him in for an urgent operation tomorrow, but we need permission. And he goes, we give you permission, do what you got to do. And I went into the operation. A friend of mine named Natal was there with me. He said his goodbyes. We said goodbye, and then he left. And then I woke up, and I was drugged up, and my family was all there. And basically they told me that we've got it all. We might need to do a bit of chemotherapy to clean it up. And I was like, absolutely not. Not doing any chemotherapy. Well, 1 week later, they worked out that I had colon cancer, but I also had non-hodgkin lymphoma cancer, and I was basically riddled with it. So I was back in hospital a week later, fighting for my life.
Was that because I know they confused it as just thinking it was the colon cancer at the start? The non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, was the colon cancer part of that, or was there two separate issues at the same time?
So I think what happened was when I got hit and it ruptured, I think once obviously they've opened it up and whatever, I think things start to spread. You know what I mean? And it just spread like wildfire, man. And like I said to you, I went back to the hospital when they did the scan. They told me that you're basically riddled. You know what I mean? You're riddled. And I remember one of the doctors who was doing the scans, he said to me, he says, man, I'll see you again very soon. He goes, we're going to beat this together. And I was like, no doubt, I'm not leaving right now, man. I'll see you soon, you know? And he saw me the whole way through. Every scan he was there, and like we were always like, you know, he was always very honest and open with me and let me know, look, man, it's kind of looking better, it's getting there. And because, you know, every time because you're going through this chemotherapy, and chemotherapy hurts, man. If people don't know, about chemotherapy, I can tell you one thing, it fucking kills, man. Like, chemo kills.
They say it's worse than the cancer, right?
Well, listen, they basically give you the chemotherapy to kill everything in your body, and that's what they do. They kill you and they keep you alive with the medication. That's all they do. The medication is what keeps you alive. The OBS and all that stuff, they come in, they take your OBS every fucking couple of hours because they got to keep you alive with the meds. So, man, I've never experienced pain like that in my life, you know what I mean?
When you wake up from that surgery, the exploratory one, and they say, look, Billy, you know, you have cancer. At that point, were you relieved in that they finally believed you and found what was causing it?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I was relieved, man. I was relieved. I was like, I just want to, you know, when you just want to get to the bottom of what's going on? That's what it was. And the truth is, man, I just wanted to be able to go to the restroom because I felt like, I didn't tell you this, but the truth is, man, is that when I went to the hospital, I vomited like 50 times because it's got to leave.
Pass it, though,
it's got to leave your body somewhere.
Yeah.
It's got to leave your body somewhere, man. And like, I was so backed up that it had to come out somewhere. So it was coming out of my mouth, man. I was like, bro, I've never experienced pain like that. In the end, I vomited so much, I started to dry reach and I was vomiting blood specks. So I'd vomit blood specks and it would like just spray into the bag, or blood would spray into the bag.
So that surgery that you had to go in the next day, where they're like, because you're a friend, we'll get you in. Is that a risky surgery? Is it?
No, man. But like he told me that you know, we've lost people in the past. He goes, but you know, this is a very straightforward thing. And but at that point, you know, I'm not even thinking about that because you know the truth is, man, is that death's not painful. Let's be honest, death is not painful. Death is something that you sleep at night. Every night when you go to sleep, you die.
Yeah.
It's like you're dead. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, if you die in a car accident or whatever like that, if you take a hit in a car accident and you get slammed, you feel the pain for 1 second, then you shut off. You're dead. You know what I mean? Your organs shut down quick. So, like, death is not painful, man. So, like, for me, it was like, if I die on the operating table, that's God's will for me. I'm so content with death. Like, I have no fear of death. You know, people fear dying. I have no fear of it. I don't fear death. I feel like death is something that's upon each and every single one of us.
Is that a freeing feeling?
100%. I actually feel like I really can tell you I have no fear of death. I have no fear of meeting God. If God decides that it's time for me to go, I'm ready.
And that on chemotherapy was something I wanted to ask you about because I know it was a big decision for you to agree with that. How did you come to the decision to do it? Because I know it's not something you were interested in. Was that because of the experience with Sarah?
Sarah died from chemotherapy. And I used to say to myself, had we not given her the chemo and just let cancer take its course, we might have had her for another 2 or 3 years. But we opted to go with the chemotherapy. But when the doctor said to me that you'll be dead in 6 months, and I don't think you understand the extent of this cancer. And I thought, I'm going to be robbing my son of the ability to have a father because I'm a hard-headed person. And he said to me, I said to him, I'm going to look at some holistic ways. And he goes, okay, let's just say you look at some holistic ways and you waste 3 months looking for that and we don't find a result. You've only got 3 months. And he goes, and by then you would be really riddled. What do we do then? And I had to wait up, man. And I was like, listen, I got to bite the bullet for my son. I only bit the bullet for my son and my wife. That's the truth. If it wasn't for Berry and Lath, I would have never done it. I just did it for them. Because
that's a really interesting thought that's crossed my mind as well. I don't like to think about these things too much because I don't want to bring it into my life. But I'm the same. Chemotherapy doesn't really sit right for me. But if someone comes to you and say, "Look, Billy, I've just been diagnosed with cancer in a similar position to you," if you had to do it all over again, are you a fan? Not a fan, but would you recommend chemo? Would you explore the natural alternatives?
I'll tell you something now. A lot of people have approached me with telling me that they've been diagnosed with cancer. And a lot of people have asked me the question, do you recommend I take the chemotherapy? Do you know what I always tell them? Always tell them, don't ask me that.
Yeah.
I said, because I don't want to be the reason why you take it and then things go wrong and you blame me. I'm telling you now, chemotherapy will hit you harder than anything will ever hit you in the face. I said, have you ever been punched in the face? They said, no. I said, well, let somebody punch you in the face as hard as they can, and chemo is going to hit you harder than that. And then I'm like, but you gotta weigh it up, man. You gotta weigh it up. I tell people all the time, you gotta weigh it up. I said, but I will give you some advice. If you do take the chemotherapy, do use THC oil at the same time.
That
because
helps.
Chemotherapy does a few things. It kills everything inside your body. It sleep deprives you, and it makes you hungry. You know what I mean? Basically, it takes your appetite away. So it doesn't make you hungry. It takes your appetite away. So sleep deprivation and makes you basically hate food. But THC oil is that component where helps you sleep and makes you hungry. And a lot of the times the doctors will tell you, oh, we don't recommend you use it because they don't get paid for it.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you now, if you are a cancer patient, get yourself some THC oil. It's a game changer.
And you're describing how bad your experience was. That was with it helping. Imagine if you didn't utilize that.
Exactly.
What got you through your darkest days?
It was just thinking about brighter days, man. I just thought about the brighter days. I just thought about overcoming it, becoming a really strong keynote speaker, releasing my autobiography, and just inspiring people to achieve their greatness, man. That's just my whole thing about my whole life, man, is I've always wished good for people, you know what I mean? And that's why when I got sick, man, the world prayed for Billy Dib.
It really did.
It really did. No one ever said, you know what, man, he's a crook, that bloke, man, I hope he dies. No one ever said that because I was always good to people, man. I always shook people's hands. I always stopped for a photo. I always hugged people. I always showed love. And when you do that, man, when you love the way like that, God sends people to love you, man. And I had people from all over the world sending me messages saying, man, I'm praying for you, man. I'm praying for you, brother. I'm in Mecca right now, and I'm doing an Umrah on your behalf, man. I'm praying, and I'm asking God to give you health and strength, man. And you know how empowering that is?
It's beautiful.
Man, it's empowering. It's empowering.
How was that experience of getting all those messages and hearing that? Was it humbling? Was it shocking?
It would make me cry. Listen, I became the most emotional human being when I was in hospital, not because I feared death, but because of the beauty that I saw through my sickness. I saw so much beauty. I saw so much peace and harmony. And people, literally, man, the messages that I received from people was just heart-wrenching, man. It was beautiful.
Talk to me about the moment you had with Alexander Usyk overseas it was somewhere was it Dubai or somewhere over there, right?
It was in Kazakhstan, man. Okay. And he's a champ of the world, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's a legend.
Undisputed right now.
He's a legend. He's a legend.
Game.
And his manager, Egis Klimas, he was responsible for managing a fighter who beat me for my world championship. So Egis Klimas, who manages Alexander Usyk and manages Vasily Lomachenko, also used to manage a fighter by the name of Evgeny Gradovich, who beat me for my world title. And me and Egis had a really cool relationship, you know what I mean? And Egis has obviously told Vasily about my situation. And when I was invited to the WBC convention by Mauricio Suleiman, they invited me onto the stage to present me with a world championship belt. Wow. And so Alexander Usyk was there and all these amazing fighters were there. And here I am up on the stage, and I basically, told them a little bit about my journey, and I left them with a message that only spend your time with people that you value, because time is something that's not promised. And I'm here today because I value each and every single one of you guys. And I'm honored to be a WBC champion of hope.
Yeah. And
then later on, a few days later, I get in the lift, and I'm in the lift with Alexander Usyk. You know what I mean? I'm in a lift with him. And then he says to me, "You're not a champion." I said, "I'm not a champion." He goes, "Yeah, you're not a champion." I said, "Okay." And he goes, "You are a legend." I said, "Me?" And he goes, "Yes." He goes, "Because you are the ultimate warrior. You beat something that a lot of people can't beat. you are a champion of life. And he gave me this big hug, and I was like, man, unbelievable. And then he was like, I want you to come and watch me fight Tyson Fury, you know what I mean? And I was like, man, I was going to ask him if he can follow me on Instagram. Nah, I didn't. I'm just joking. But in my mind, I was like, man, it'd be so cool if I could get him. Yeah, but for him to say that, man, firstly, when he said it, I just smiled like, you're not a champ. And I was like, but I am. I actually won a world title, man. I won two to be honest.
Yeah.
And then when he said that, I was like gobsmacked, man. And then he hugged me and we got out of the lift, man. And he was like, I was like, man, thank you so much, Alexander. That means a lot, man. He goes, I'm not a champion like you are. I'm nothing compared to you. And I was like, come on, man. Don't say that. And he's like, it's true, brother. You know, that meant so much to me, man. And let me tell you something. I've never been made to feel so special in my life like I did on that trip with the WBC convention. From Mauricio Suleiman, the whole WBC fraternity, I have never been made to feel that special in my whole life, man. Like Mike Tyson, you know, Costa Zoo, Julio Cesar Chavez.
Wow.
Like, you know what?
The who's who.
Julio Cesar Chavez, he actually sent one of his people that's with him to come and give me a gift from him. He said, this is a gift from me to you. Wow. They told me this is from Julio Cesar Chavez. He wants you to have it. And he gave me a hat that's his brand. And I was like, man, I couldn't believe it. I'd never experienced that kind of love. And I think, you know, in a way it makes me sad because Australia is built on tall poppy syndrome, man. Because let me tell you something, wherever I go in the world of boxing, in America, UK, I always get treated like a legend of the sport. And I'm not a legend, man. I'm not a legend. I'm going to be honest with you. I am not a legend. I'm a guy who won 2 world titles. I'm an honest fighter. You know what I mean? I never went on for legendary status. But the way they treat me like I'm a legend is like unbelievable, man. And here, I at times feel like I've been disrespected.
You know why I believe they see you as a legend and maybe the Australians don't quite? Is because the tall poppy syndrome's part of it, but people that have sacrificed and achieved greatness in their life, they know what it takes, right? Yeah. So they're people that have experienced it and lived it, so they're qualified to bestow you with that title. Whereas Australia, anyone experiences success in sport, in business, in whatever, it makes other people feel small for not achieving it themselves, and they'll lash out and try and drag you down. Hey,
man, I'm the type of person, if a kid messages me and says, I want to be a champion like you, I said, no. I want you to be a champion that's better than me. Don't worry about being me. Be better. I said, I gave you a blueprint. Now better that blueprint.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm all about that. I wish people amazing success, man. Because let me tell you something. It's easy to make someone feel like shit, but it takes a special person to make somebody feel like they're amazing. You know what I mean? And I've had good people in my life that have done that to me. And I am who I am today because of what they did to me, and I now try to relay the same message that they relayed to me. It's a cycle, man. It's like, you know what I mean? You do good, good comes back.
100%. And part of again, you know, the faith you have in God or the karma, like you get out what you put in. The fact that you were a good person, if you were backstabbing people and cheating and manipulating the game, if you're that sort of person and then cancer gets put across you, maybe you aren't given the strength to beat it.
100%, man. God, I am here for a reason. There's no other thing that I could tell you. The reason why I'm here is because God believes that I deserve to be here and that I still am needed on earth. Because when you're not needed, you're out.
Speaking of sort of those humbling moments, you mentioned losing your world title to Evander Gradovic. And I remember hearing you speak somewhere, you were talking about that experience afterwards and you lost, right? But what was the response from everyone after that? Because it kind of surprised you in a way, didn't it?
Yeah, man, it's like you feel like people are going to make a mockery of you, but like I said to you, man, it was nothing but love and respect, you know what I mean? And I actually got up on the podium after Evgeny Gradovic beat me and I said that today 2 guys came to the ring and one left as a champion. And I said, then that champion today is Evgeny Gradovic, and he deserves the accolades. And what I can say is that we all suffer setbacks, but I will return. That was it. That's exactly what I said when I left the podium. I mean, I did not make any excuses. I didn't try to mount any sort of defense. No. God gave me my success, and now God's given him his success.
You fought at some of the biggest, like MSG, MGM, Mandalay Bay, some of the biggest places in the world, right?
Yeah.
And it's interesting because earlier on in this conversation, you spoke about how grateful you are for time and everything that life is like going to give to you now. But in those moments, in like the height of your career, you're over in the US, you're doing all these like hectic things, but you're so in the zone, like trying to win or hold on to your title. You spoke about getting through it and losing, and then kind of you feel like the weight of the world lifted off your shoulders because do you feel like you maybe weren't as present and enjoying the moment for what it was back then?
100%, man. 100%. It wasn't until I sat down and started writing my autobiography that I realized that I had reached some amazing heights. Because when you're a kid, 21 years old, and you're at Madison Square Garden and you're fighting there, I was still blown away.
Mental.
I was still blown away, but I was like, I just want it to be over and done with because I want to know if I'm going to win or lose.
Yeah.
Because the anxieties would get the better of you and I wouldn't soak up the moment. And then when I actually sat down after my wife passed away and I opened up the book and I started writing about my life, and mind you, I didn't write about my life on a notepad or a fucking a laptop. You know what I done? I actually got a pen and a paper and started writing my life story on pen and paper. And next thing you know, I've ended up with like 10 books, right? Full of like all notes and things that I've written down. And then when I eventually gave it to the book company, they were like, what the hell is this? And I was like, that's my life story. And they're like, no, you're going to need to transfer that onto a laptop. You know what I mean? You're going to need to give that as a document. I was like, oh, no. They go, you're going to put it on a Word document. Yeah. So, you know, here I'm retyping my life. So I wrote it and then I had to rewrite it. So I got to relive it twice. And then after I relived it twice, the book finally goes to print. And then I have to relive it again because I want to read the final copy, which is amazing. I mean, and then it's only after reading all that I realized that, wow, I actually had a tremendous journey, man. I had a tremendous
Unbelievable
journey.
What you've achieved.
Yeah, honestly, look, I don't want to lie to you, man, and I don't want to lie to the listeners. You know, when I was a kid, I thought I was going to make millions and millions of dollars. I didn't make the millions and millions of dollars. I made good money. I made honest money. But I never made the millions and millions and millions that people think that I made, because they look at you hanging out with Mike Tyson, they look at you hanging out with Prince Nassim and Oscar De La Hoya and Shane Mosley and 50 Cent and Floyd Mayweather, but it wasn't like that. I've actually been robbed. I've been robbed by 50 Cent for over $1 million. Yeah, which is it's okay. It's okay. I parted ways with that when I was a long time ago. I parted ways with that. You know what I mean? I made a decision to part ways with that, but trust me, it's not the experiences that I had and the memories that I have are worth millions. They are worth millions. Right? I'm telling you now. My journey of boxing, my journey of losing my wife, my journey of getting remarried, my journey of beating cancer, that's where the money is, in the story that's going to be told, in the book that I've written, in the book that's being sold. I've sold over close to 4,000 copies of my book, and that's all by my own doing. Because everywhere I go, I do speaking engagements. I take my book, I make people buy it. I don't make people buy it. I tell them about the book, and they want to buy it. They want to read the stories. That's where the money is. You know what I mean? And like I said to you, as long as I'm healthy, as long as my wife is healthy and my son is healthy and we're living, I'm happy, man. I'm content. And
the difference is, like, when you're, you know, chasing this dream as a boxer, there's a limit on that. You know, mid-30s, late 30s, you're going to get to a point where your body can no longer. There's no limit to keynote speaking, to sharing your message. You're just getting started.
I'm only getting started.
It's the beginning of a whole new chapter.
I am only getting started, and I've been doing a lot of speaking engagements, traveling a lot, and wowing people with my story and just trying to inspire as many people as I can. That's my goal.
I know you're not a man for regret, but just so people can try and, like, grasp that lesson, I know you don't regret things, but looking back at the time where you weren't present, is there any part of you that wishes you could have just enjoyed the journey for what it is?
100%. I always tell myself, I wish I could just go back and just feel that one more time.
Yeah.
You know, but look, man, I sent something to an old trainer of mine yesterday, a clip of me hitting a speedball, and I said, man, I was quick, you know what I mean? And he responded back by saying, you were cut from a different cloth. People aren't developed the way you would develop anymore. And we still got great fighters in Australia, amazing fighters who are doing great things. But when I was around, man, like if social media was around, I would have had a massive platform.
Crazy, right?
It would have been crazy because I was hanging out with the who's who. I'm serious.
Speaking of you achieving as much as you did in your pursuit of greatness, what do you think as the athlete, what made you special? What was your edge?
My will to win and my willingness to chase what I wanted. I never sat back and said, oh, I want to be a world champion. And I actually went and got it. I got on a plane. I traveled to England. I got on a plane. I went to America. I took discs with me. I went to see promoters. I talked to people. I told people I was going to be a champion, you know. Anyone and everyone who came within the realm of me, I will tell them that I'm going to be world champion one day.
Wow.
And sometimes people are like, man, that's really cocky. And I'm like, no, it's true.
Kind of the Conor McGregor before.
Yeah, I'm going to be a champion one day. I thought I'm going to be champion one day, guys.
Yeah.
Trust me. You need to get on board. You need to sponsor me. You need to support me. I'm going to be champion. I'm going to take your brand to another level.
You willed it into existence, right?
I did. And I try to tell people that all the time. The belief starts with you. What's the point of me, you, and everybody in your office believing in somebody who doesn't believe in themselves? It's a waste of time. You know what I mean? It starts with you. And I tell people that. When I go to schools and talk to kids, I tell them, listen, just so you know, it starts with you. The greatness is within you, not me. I can't help you tap into that greatness. I could tell you about it. I could tell you how great it is to find it, but you need to find it yourself. You need to chase that greatness yourself. You need to find what it is that you love. You need to be consistent in your approach, and you need to believe in it in order for it to come to fruition and be successful.
Such a beautiful message. Such a beautiful message. And I'm really excited to watch this new chapter, build. You're at level 1 of this journey now, right?
Yeah.
You're a man of vision, and you're a man that, like you said, never gives up. You say you're going to do something, you do it. What does, say, the next 5-10 years look like? What does this mission look like of you going to become one of the biggest, most impactful speakers in the world? Where do you want to take this?
Well, there's a few things that I want. I want to be an amazing keynote speaker. Like I'll say that again. I want to be an amazing keynote speaker like the Tony Robbins, the Anthony Robbins, the Inky Johnsons, the people who are making a difference in people's lives. That's what I want to do. But at the same time, I want to develop my clothing brand and my range of clothing, and I want to take it to the highest of heights. That's what I want. And I want my vision is, I actually had a vision this morning, and I was like, I want to link up with somebody who has the same belief in the brand as I do and can help me take it to another level.
Talk to me about the brand, because we've got a lot of e-com listeners or business listeners to the podcast at an early stage into business. What's been that journey like of creating your own brand? Has it been challenging? Has it been rewarding?
There's always challenges. There's always definitely challenges, and I'm blessed to have the support and love of Jake and the team at G'd Up. They were the ones who helped me develop some of the clothing, and it was like when we did the first drop, it was like in a matter of days we had made like $20,000. I was like, what the fuck?
It's the power of Billy Dib.
But then it just died.
Of course, yeah.
You know what I mean? And it was like people bought it for love, you know what I mean?
That's what I mean.
They wanted to support Billy Dib, you know what I mean? It's like when I was sick, I had like 100 jumpers at home, and I had a few things at home, items and stuff, and I put a message up on my Facebook like saying, if you letting everyone know how I'm doing, and I said, hey guys, if you'd like to purchase something from me, like this is some of the gear that I have, and I showed them some of the things that I have. 2 days later, we were sold out. But I think that's from sympathy. People buy from, that was like a sympathy buy, you know what I mean? Like, and then people had paid and items were not getting we had run out of items to deliver, and I was telling people, I'll give you a refund. They're like, no, we just want you to have it. And I'm like, no, I don't want no free money. You know what I mean? I need to give you something. So I started sending signed boxing gloves to people, and you know what I mean? And I don't know. I just really believe in this brand, and it's doing really well at the moment. It's a slow slog, but you got to stay at it, man.
It always is in clothing. You speak to the G'd Up boys. They weren't successful overnight.
No, it took him 11 years.
Yeah.
It took Jake 11 years.
An 11-year overnight success, right?
Yeah,
as people say.
Like Jake grinded, man, and I've spent time with him, and he's told me stories, and I even was with him last week, and I was like, yeah, man. And he's like, man, it's a slow grind, but you'll get there, bro. Just keep at it.
You can't give up. That's the difference.
Keep at it. No, and I'm not giving up, man. I'm just not in a position like other people to just keep doing different drops and stuff. So I'm making several pieces and that, but it's like taking time, you know what I mean? It's not one of those things. It's not an overnight thing, but it's going to get there, man.
So where can people, what's the website where people can suss this out?
The site is believe.com, which is BILLYVE.com.
Yeah, like on your shirt.
Yeah, it's Billy, and then you add the VE on the end, which says believe, and it's .com. That's it.
Yeah.
And you can buy hats, the book, the T-shirts and jumpers, and yeah, man, it's like, look, we're gonna get there. I'm not gonna give up. I'm one person who doesn't give up. Like I said to you, I'm one of those. I'm a go-getter, man. It's like whatever I set out to get, I've already got it. It's just a matter of time. I'm gonna get it.
I love it, brother. Like I said, man, it really, truly was an honor to have you on the podcast, to get, an hour and 20 minutes of your time so far. I really appreciate it. If there's anything I can do to help support the journey, I know you've got heaps of awesome people in your corner, but flick me a message anytime, man. Love to be a part of, supporting you and this vision continue to grow. I'm excited to watch you, man. I think for me in business, I have a podcast, I do speaking, I have a clothing line. It all ties in, bro. Everything you're doing is going to go together. So I'm excited to watch that. I'd say never give up, but you don't need to say that to you. I can feel it. And just being around your energy, you can see why you got so much love when you're in your dark days, because what you do, you lead with love. You don't lead with ego. You're not putting people down. So thank you for being you. Thank you for keeping on. I think you're going to have a very, really big, important impact to the world. So keep doing you, brother. And I'll be following along even more closely after this.
Thank you very much, man. I appreciate it.
Brother. Appreciate you, man. Legend. All right, guys, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode or you got something out of it, do yourself a favor, do me a favor, do your friends a favor, and share this with them, and they can come along on this journey with us. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.